Hey guys, Paul McClain here. Welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Podcast Classroom Edition. We've got a great classroom in here. In fact, a lot of new people that are sitting here today that are wanting to go out there and really start fast, right? And I believe that most people, when they enter into this business, they have similar desires. You know, I think that people are more alike than we are not alike. And one of the things that I believe that I hear from most people is like, man, I want to be able to not have a lid on me. I want to be able to go out there and put the work in and see the fruits based off the work I put in. If I want to go out there and earn more in 2023, and then in 2022, I want to be able to choose and decide to do that. I want freedom of my schedule, man. Like I want to be able to, like, you know, this morning I was walking out and I've got a schedule in place, but you know, the freedom to say, like, I walked by my kids that were in the room. I had two that ended up in the same bedroom, my 5 and 7-year-old. And I just to stop and say, you know, I'm just gonna get in bed and kind of like cuddle up with him, you know, for 15, 20 minutes, and then I'll get on with it. Like that's something that, man, it's just priceless. And see, this opportunity provides that for you. Now, I do believe what we're gonna talk about today, guys, I promise you, this is the biggest thing that will help you triple the speed to which you wanna, you know, get to those desired outcomes, or it's the very thing that will trip you up and get into your goals and the accomplishments that you wanna have. This is the difference maker. And I've done this now 15 years. And when I look at those that go out there and they thrive quick, they hit their goals, the ones that, man, they had so much potential, but like what happened? Like, why did they trip up so much? Like, it's because of this. And we're gonna really unpack schedule. So we're gonna break it down. I'm gonna kind of go through a top producer schedule, someone that's building a business, what their schedule looks like. And I'm hoping and I believe that after this today, you'll be able to go out and have more clarity, more understanding of how to put together that schedule. The reason why I do believe most people fail in this business when they get started is because they have all this white space. They have just too much white space. I think that we get in and we want to be self-employed, but I love what scripture says, man, who's given much, much is required. So you've been given it. It's, hey, if you're watching this, you're probably in this spot. But what's required is your ability to be the employer that outlines, that organizes, that structures the schedule. I always say that this is like you're the employer and employee. You got to structure the schedule, put it in place, and then once you do that, then as the employee part of it, you should feel this confidence of like, man, all I got to do is show up. Does that make sense? I think angst, stress, all that stuff is tied to someone that wakes up, self-employed, and they don't know what the heck they do. Now, they might have in their mind what they think they need to do, but it's too abstract. They need clarity. They need specificity. And when they have that, all of a sudden the stress and anxiety, it'll just start to fade away. Because now you could say, hey, I know I got all these feelings, but what's the task at hand? What's the main chief objective that I got to focus on right now? Go to your schedule, you take a look at it, boom. Now you're just taking massive action, right? You know, it's kind of like if you're self-employed without a schedule, you really are unemployed. And it just let the time do its work. Eventually your bank account will show it and you're gonna go get a job. So if you don't provide yourself structure, you're gonna land in an environment that's gonna provide it for you. Does that make sense? I kind of look at this like, so think about the prison system. Like it would blow your mind if you knew how many people got out of the prison system and that landed right back into prison. You say, why is that? Well, for the most part, when they're in prison, they've got a lot of what? Structure. It's like, hey man, lights on at this time, lights off at this time. This is when this is your meal. This is when you get to go to the yard. This is your free time. It's all scheduled. And in that, there's some sort of like internal freedom that like, I got structure. I know what I need to do when I need to do it. I know what's going on. I know what to expect. I know what's coming. Then they get out and now they got all this physical freedom, right? They're not behind bars, but they don't know what to do with it. And so what do is they almost unconsciously do something to land them back into place where they actually felt the freest, which is where the structure was. Like, you ever met a kid that had no discipline or structure? You know what I mean? Like little Billy comes up and just kicks you in the nuts and runs off. You know what I mean? Like, you probably got a nephew or something like that. You're like, what the heck, dude? What's wrong with you? You know? These are not to be kicked with. But like, there's no structure or discipline. And it's a disaster, right? It's an absolute disaster. And so the structure in the schedule is what's going to allow you to make this year your year. You show me your schedule, I'll show you where you're going to be. I can look at your schedule and say, hey, man, 90 days, this is what it's gonna look like. And it's almost like to it, like precise, because it's so predictable based off what you have scheduled and structured, all right? And so now the hardest thing to do is just to start to do it, right? I don't know if it's probably about maybe a year and a half ago, and my brother-in-law was like, hey, we should start jiu-jitsu. I was like, I'm in, dude. Like, let's do it. And I put my 7-year-old in it, which was great. It's always great watching a 7-year-old put another 7-year-old girl in an arm bar, which I enjoyed. And I figured out what the hardest belt to get is. You guys want to know what the hardest belt to get is? It's a white belt. Because most people, I didn't start, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never actually did it. The hardest belt's a white belt. Because you got to show up and do it. And I realized that, like, good intent doesn't get the job done, man. You could have good, I intend to be a top producer. Okay, well, what is it? Are you starting? What does it look like, right? And so really what I want to do is go through first the schedule and unpack that. So if you got your goal, let's unpack your schedule, right? If you want to go out and serve 20 families, what does that look like? Well, you want to help 20 families. Well, how many do you probably need to sit with, right? Maybe you say, well, Paul, if I help 20 families or let's say 5 families in a week, well, okay, 5 families in a week, how many appointments do you need to actually sit with or talk to over the phone if it's a telesale? Well, let's just say it's 10. So say your close ratio is 50%. And that's being pretty fair. That's being very conservative. What will happen is over a period of time, that skill set will build through the repetition and experience, and also you getting all the training that's going to be in your schedule as far as podcasts, stuff like that. It's going to help you elevate, and that'll grow. But let's just say for sake of brand new getting started, it's 50%. So you'd have to sit with 10, right? If you sit with 10, how many you need to book? Let's just say your show ratio is awful. It's 50%, which that's terrible. So you got to book 20. So you got to book 20 appointments. Okay, then you can reverse engineer that. Well, how many leads is it going to take, right? How much are you going to have to invest into leads to get to 20 appointments? Now, once you've been in this business long enough, you'll build a ratio, and in that ratio, you've now uncovered predictability. In the beginning, go build your ratio quickly. How fast can you get through your first 100 appointments? Because on the other end of it, what you thought was, you'll find out wasn't. What you thought wasn't, you'll find out was. Like, you'll uncover a lot of things you didn't know once you've actually put in massive action and you've done it. Does that make sense? And then you've also got a ratio. So you can say, man, every time if I get 100 leads, I book 10 appointments. So I need 200 leads. Or every time I get 100 leads, I get 20 appointments. So you can build that ratio, and now it's predictable. See, I believe that consistency will definitely give you this feeling and sense of emotional stability. Like, there's not as many highs and lows when there's consistency. I'm big on highs and lows if it's like a roller coaster or something fun. But if it's about my psyche, like bipolar and stuff, I don't want to play with all that stuff, right? I don't want my bank account to be high and low. I want it to be good, man. So when it comes to this business, the consistency is crucial. Once you build your ratio or have your ratio, you could build it into your schedule, okay? So the first thing you want to do when you look at your schedule is, what are some money-making activities? Like, what's the number one thing that if you did it with excellence, it would make everything else pretty much unnecessary, not that important? Well, I can tell you this much. Activity on the phones is it. That's it. You say, Paul, man, it ain't looking too good. It's urgent. Like, I gotta do something that's the most important. I gotta get this thing moving. Dial. What about this? No, just dial. Dial the phones. Dial the phones. Get enough leads. Dial the phones. Stack the deck. Dial the phones. Give yourself opportunities where you're less emotional because you have so many shots. Does that make sense? So when you try to play it safe, like, I'm going to save myself a little bit on leads and try to milk and squeeze, well, you're going to mess up the ones you would have normally booked because you're emotional about the ones that you were never going to book. So I get a no, and I mess up the yes because I'm, oh my God, I can't get another no. I only got so many leads. But if you got so many shots, you're like, dude, slide on over, baby. I'm about to call one that actually cares about their wife. Bob, are you the one? Like it's just different because you got shots, right? So you want to make sure that you're set up that way. Now, the money activities is dialing. In your schedule, you have to ask yourself, what's going to help me stick to my schedule? So if I say I'm going to start dialing at 7 a.m., what helps me dial at 7 a.m.? Accountability, right? Like, think about this. We're in January, right? I'm pretty sure most people had some kind of weight loss goal or fitness goal going into January 1st. Is that fair? Not everybody, but probably most. Who do you think are the ones that actually stuck to it? Because most everybody that had it, they've already fallen off the wagon. It's the ones that had personal trainers or accountability. Like I love the fact that, you know, Trey and Sam, they go work out together and they send me a picture. And Nick now too, like 4 a.m. I get a picture of them sweating, cardio day, and they're all dripping sweat. It makes me feel like a loser. I like it. But they're all working out more consistently than ever before. Fair? Ever before. Why? They're doing it together. Trey's probably like, dude, I don't want to go today. But heck, Sam's going to be there. Sam will have a day where he's like, dude, I don't want to go today. But I can't look like that inconsistent fool that said one thing and I didn't do it. That doesn't go well with my character. What else Trey gonna? And that's a good thing. Put yourself in good peer pressure environments. So what could you do? You get into the office space. You say, hey, you grab a couple of dudes, like, man, let's dial on Mondays and Thursdays at 7 a.m. Right? It'll help them out. And now they're going to get with you, right? And now, hey, we're down together at 7 a.m. Why 7? Because most people start at 8 or 9. And so if you can do what others don't do, you're going to have what others don't have, right? I mean, successful people do consistently what other people do occasionally. So let's build in some parameters where we can consistently do these things where it's like almost like forcing my body that doesn't feel like it to move because I got these environments that I just have to go after it and do the right activity, right? And so now you're dialing at 7 a.m. That's also basically giving yourself this vote that says, man, you can hit your goals this year. Why? Because you're doing what other people don't do. The advantage, the edge. It's like if I'm in a foot race against is it Usain Bolt? He was a fast one, right? Mm-hmm. Him and Ben, they're about the same. But if I'm foot racing Usain Bolt, like I'm not confident I'm gonna win at all. I'm depressed. Like I'm gonna look embarrassed. This is gonna be embarrassing. I think like he could beat me backwards. But if it's a 100-yard dash and I get to start on the 90-yard line, oh, I'm gonna run backwards and beat that fool. Because I got my head start's so great, my confidence is high. So that's where my work ethic and me doing a little bit more than others weren't doing, like just like what do they do? Oh, they leave the office at 7? I'm gonna leave at 8:30. Because I'm showing myself that I deserve it. And because I believe I deserve it, I'm gonna behave in such a way to make that come to pass. It's these little things, right? It's these little things. How you do anything is how you do everything. These little things that make up such a big difference, right? And so money-making activities, 7 a.m., that's when you start dialing. You can say when? Well, if you're face-to-face, dial Mondays and Thursdays. Go from 7 a.m. to maybe 12 o'clock, and then you have a scheduled break. 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock, you grab something to eat, you watch a podcast that's centered around what you're doing, which is dialing the phones. Maybe you recorded yourself from 7 to 12 and you're listening to yourself back to help you become aware of some of the things that you thought you were doing but you really weren't doing. That's going to help you correct and adjust as you go into the second half of the day. But you do something like that, right? And by the way, at 7 to 12, you're tracking yourself. It's a game. Like, okay, my goal is I got to make, if you're using phone burner or whatever, like I got to make 80 dials. What do you make with phone, like an hour? What's the average?
Phone burner?
Yeah, how many dials?
You could do like 70, 80 an hour.
Okay, so 80 dials. I got to do 80 dials an hour. And you track it. You got your tracker. Why is the tracker so important? Paul, I'm gonna hit my appointments anyway. It's important because you get to understand, like be aware of your distraction, of your focus, so you can correct it. Because it's a big deal. You want to get in the zone. And if you look down, you're like, man, I made 22 phone calls last hour. What distracted you? Man, I'd be clear, I used to do that. I'd had like, I developed like infant baby bladder syndrome. I developed like a 2-day-old baby bladder. Like every 2.5 minutes I had to convince myself I had to pee. I didn't have to pee. It was just like the most justifiable reason to not dial I could come up with. Like I gotta pee. I can't pee my pants. I gotta go pee. You know what I mean? It was the weirdest thing ever. And I realized like that was I gotta say not now, right? I gotta put that aside because it's messing me up. I really don't have to go pee. It's a distraction. But you gotta keep yourself on pace. Like, are you making the right amount of dials per hour? Right? What does that look like? And then maybe, and I think this is also something good. Like you could even set it up and say, hey, Everybody's different. I like to just to get through it, but on the 55th minute, if I hit where I should be at, I take that 5 minutes and I take a little break. I've earned it. I'm a big believer in a consequence mindset. Like setting up little things where you can kind of give yourself some rewards based off of activity goals, not result goals, where you can feel good about it, right? So the other thing is this. So you're dialing Mondays and Thursdays if it's face-to-face. If it's telesales, you could do this throughout the entire week. I would just say, hey, oh, by the way, after 1 o'clock, you get back on the phones. And then you go until you hit your goal. Because you got to show yourself, man, like you're not going to give up. You're going to hit your goal. Now, for me, I put like a consequence in place, a reward in place, because I wanted to build a business, right? I didn't want to sell forever. So once I hit my appointment goal, if it was at 3 o'clock I hit it or 2 o'clock, then I had earned the right to go build my business. I had earned the right to work on my business. But first and foremost, I had to work my job. My job was selling insurance because that's what I can control. I got control over that. And I gotta put this activity in because I know this activity is gonna lead to this result unequivocally. Like that's a fact. So I know I'm good there. Once I've hit that, then I can go do some DMs, reach out to some people, message some people on Instagram, right? I could call some recruiting leads. I could do some activities that will help me build my business. All right. Now, the other thing, as far as with the telesales, if the telesales, what I would suggest is, and by the way, even if it's face-to-face, get on a Zoom. So you'd be like, Paul, I don't have an office. Get on a Zoom. You can do the same thing. You can connect with somebody on a Zoom and say, hey, man, you want to commit with me where every single day we can hop on at 7 a.m.? Find some kind of, buddy that you can build that accountability with, right? And the person's probably like, shoot, why'd they ask me that? And you're probably like, shoot, why'd I ask them that? Because you kind of didn't want to commit to 7 either. Just like everything in life. In the moment, it sounds like, I don't want to do it. But in the end, in hindsight, like, thank God I did that, man. I feel so much better. Like, I feel like a better human being because I did it. So stop focusing on what feels good in a minute, but in the long term causes destruction and discord. Think about what does it suck? What sucks in the minute, but in the end, there's growth, there's progress. It's building me up. I'm getting better, whether that's my faith, my finances, my franchise business, my family, my friendships. Like, what is building that up, right? All right, so once you've done that, I think it's very important that every night, at the end of the night, to ask yourself, like, how did the day go? Did you accomplish what you wanted to accomplish? Right? How did it go? What did you learn today? And really kind of that helps you go through the day and look at the lessons, the no-shows, the no-sells, whatever it may be, and you can find that seed of greatness that's in that mud of failure, and you can focus on it. And if you can see it, you can receive it. And it's how you perceive it. So if you could go back through and say, what did I learn today? Now you're going through with the right eyes. Now you find it and you can say, man, I learned in that situation that I gotta make sure that at the end I don't say that. Or in the beginning I don't say, hey, why'd you fill the request out? I learned that, man, that opens a door up to getting all kinds of answers. I gotta stay on point. I gotta just say, hey, most clients fill this request out for really 1 or 3 reasons. 1, 2, 3. What made the most sense for you? I learned that today, right? So at the end of the day, asking yourself also, to the point of being the employer-employee relationship, is asking yourself, man, at the end of the day, would I promote myself, right? If I'm the employer, based off of my activity today, right? You structured the schedule, you planned it out, you built a schedule because you're the employer, you got to do it. But now you're the employee. You went out and executed in that schedule. And you're asking yourself, I know this sounds kind of weird, because 2 of you, not to be like schizophrenic or whatever, but like track with me here. But you're asking yourself, like, would I promote myself based off of today's activity, like what I did, or would I fire myself? And see, that's a great question, because you can now become aware and say, man, if I would have promoted myself, even though I'm not seeing the fruit now, oh, it's going to come. It almost helps you build expectation and helps you endure, the seed sowing process, because you're like, man, I would have promoted myself, dude. Like I was there at 6:45. I made my first dial at 6:50 a.m. I had my leads printed off. I was prepared. Man, at 12 o'clock, I read a little bit of a book, listened to a podcast, took some notes, got back in at 1. Man, I would have promoted myself. I was on it. Shout outs and DMs. I got 2 people invited to look at the opportunity with Family First Life. My goal is to invite 2 people. I love what Trey says. Hey, just invite 2 people to see the opportunity that never saw it before every day. Just make that a simple goal. You do that over a long period of time, the compound effect will happen. All of a sudden, you got a big business. So I would have promoted myself. Or after so many, such a period of time, you're like, dude, I would have fired myself. Like, I sucked today. I didn't get to the office until 7:45. I didn't have enough leads. I knew I didn't have enough leads, but I convinced myself I had enough leads because I don't want to buy more leads. But now that I look back, I should have bought more leads because now I was dialing the same leads and it was just a waste of my time. Like I would have fired myself. Well, don't end it all now. But if that compounds the next day, I mean, you're going to have to end up going to get a job because it ain't going to work because your schedule is in line with the results you want. The schedule's the process. The schedule's the root, right? It'll eventually produce whatever fruit that you're disciplined in over a period of time. All right, the next thing is this. In your schedule, and I mean, I can really go through like certain things that you should do. Like if you get a no-show, what do? I know that top producer, when I made this decision, like when I get a no-show, then I do this. And that's a great way to build a new habit. Once I do this, then I do this. So once I had a no-show, because everybody has no-shows, right? Once I had a no-show, I'm going to go door knock 5 homes. So that little, habit or discipline, man, it led to so much more additional family served and income, because now it was, once I get no-showed, I do whatever I feel like doing. So I pull over, scroll Instagram, go to Starbucks, just sit there and drink a caramel frappuccino, which is what I used to do back in the day before I understood that there was 582,000 grams of sugar in them. But I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna do that. Like, opposed to, no. I'm intentional. I'm a custodian of my schedule. I don't wanna lose what I've been blessed with. Because, man, if I'm not a good custodian of it, that thing could get taken away. Right? Try not to be a good custodian of your kids and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, just leave them at the house for months or 2. See what happens. Like I got to be a custodian of my schedule, or else I'll lose the ability to be the one that manages it. And I'll have to go get a job where somebody's going to manage it for me. So I was scared. Like, dude, I got to make sure I'm every minute is accounted for. So, I mean, there's all kinds of little things that you can do between the no-shows and go to that last appointment. Just be asking yourself, what's the little bit extra I could do? What I realize is that most fruit in this business comes when you've given it what you believe is your all. You've given it your all. And what you do above that, that's where the fruit is. That you can look at the big businesses, the agencies you've hired, it's like, man, I didn't even have to have that conversation, but I know, I just went on my way and I thought maybe they do. Hey, do you know anybody that'd be interested in an opportunity like this? And they led me to this person, that person. Like, it's just the way it works. Man, I was going to go to that last appointment, but I was like, I got to do it anyways, because I started thinking like, does this thought lead to success or failure? And I'm going to go anyways because they might be there, and if they're there, and I convinced myself that every client buys after 8, even though it's probably not true, but I had to convince myself of it. So I went, and I helped this many. I'm telling you, it's just little things. Next thing to put in your schedule is personal growth. You got to have some personal growth. It's like this business, man, you can start to go out there and see some good fruit pretty quick, man. And I almost look at it like I've seen really good people just self-sabotage. Like, what the heck? That dude was helping 30 families a month, had this going on, and like, why do you do that? Why do you just disappear? Why do you stop coming to the office? Why do you get naked? What happened? And you look at like that example of lottery winners, and how many of them go bankrupt after they hit the lottery? It's insane. So what they thought their whole life, because you see them, you go to the liquor store and they're like, there's another one, like, I'm gonna get 7 tickets. They're like, this is a night. And like they're just like they're just like, if we hit, oh my God, my life has changed. You know, everything will be different. I won't be depressed, anxious, like this is what's going to save me. And then they hit it, and then 12 months later, they're bankrupt. And now how do you think they feel? You know what I mean? Like, it's terrible. Like, yeah, way worse. Like, now they got to live with the shame of losing the money. It's like, oh my God, it's terrible. Well, it's because they never built their mindset up to be able to handle the money. No different than why somebody could lose all their money that's built millions and millions of dollars, and they go bankrupt and they'll go get it back. Why? Because they built it. They know what it looks like. They've got those principles. They've got that mindset. It's just like a thermostat, man. And everybody has it. You got a thermostat. And you got a financial set on that. So if it's 70 degrees and you're just used to making this amount of money, man, you get in this business, you could pop that bad boy to 90 degrees. What happens when it goes to 90 degrees? Oh, same thing. What happens is AC comes on because it's set at 70. It's, oh, it's hot as heck up in here. You get it. You ain't 90 degree kind of person. You're 70. Let's get that thing blowing. All right, now you're down to 70 degrees again. Well, what happened? We just blew the money out, stopped showing up to the office, got negative, started to complain. Just you self-sabotage. You figure out a way to blow it. It's like a lottery winner. They go buy a $5 million house and forget there's property taxes. You know what I mean? 1% on 5 million is quite a bit, dog. That's $60,000 a year. And now they're like, I can't pay $60,000 a year. And they lose the house, right? And then the smart person that built financial wealth, they go buy the house from them. So you got to develop your blueprint. You got to raise the thermostat. Well, how do you do that? It's your personal growth regimen. Like reading, right? Like getting on podcasts, listening to people that have gone the way before you. I mean, I thank God that I found this at 19 because I started to reprogram the way I was bred, man. My environment, what I had experienced, my upbringing. I didn't have nobody show me wealth files. It was just plumber. My dad was a plumber. My mom was a PTA mom. She still brags about it. I worked hard. I'm like, you did, Mom, but you made no money, volunteering at the school all the time, which I love. But I didn't have anybody show me what that looked like. But when I got in this business and I started to understand, man, it's crucial to read a book a month, to listen to an audio a month, to develop myself, to start thinking. And I would read this stuff. I'm like, man, that makes sense. The way I saw it made sense because of how I was raised, but this also makes sense. And this is going to lead me to a lot more success and better situation than this one does. And through repetition of doing it consistently over and over again and seeing it, because success leaves clues and there's a pattern that's woven with success, and this book kind of says the same thing and they all connect together, all of a sudden I'm like, man, this makes more sense than the way I kind of saw it. Now what happened? Boom, thermostat went up. So now I could go out there and I make the income, I can keep the income. Because I've developed myself in such a way where I could go out there and do that. So personal growth is essential. Business growth in your schedule, right? The podcasts, T&Ls, AMS, making sure that they're in there live so you never miss them. And then you could go back and rewatch the ones that meant the most to you. See, I think sometimes the ability just to go watch everything back after it's played is detrimental. You say, why is that? Well, it's detrimental because most of the time you don't go back and rewatch it. It's detrimental because your 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and 1 o'clock appointment, what you missed at the 8 o'clock podcast would have helped you close those 4 you just no-sold. But hey, I could watch it afterwards. But if you stick in your schedule and you watch it live, and then you can say, man, which one spoke to me the most? And then you can go back through that, right? And watch that one 5, 6, 7 times to really get that ingrained in you, to really consume it to such a high level that it becomes a part of your new mental makeup and how your belief system is structured. Oh, that's a big deal, right? So that's important. Last thing I say is this, guys, having a morning routine is really important too. Every morning, I call it pavers. I pray. I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is I say, man, hey, thank God today's gonna be a great day. It's the first thing I try to say. Right away. I say it out loud. Sometimes my wife's like, what did you just say? And then I'll put my phone in the bathroom with a bottle of water. And when my phone goes off at 4:30 a.m., my wife's not ready to wake up. Okay? I need to wake up. She's not ready. So when that thing goes off, if I don't get out of bed, she's got one of those donkey kicks, she just wham, I'm like, what the heck? She's aggressive. She is not a big fan of waking up when I'm trying to wake up. And so she get up, and I'll get up and I'll that water bottle's brand new, and I got to shotgun that thing. You know, imagine like shotgunning a beer. You know, and you put that thing back. That's the stuff that wake you up. So I'm up because you're dehydrated at night. So you pound a bottle of water, hey, and it fixes it. Because I know if I don't do that, I'm inclined to hit snooze. You said, not me, Paul. I'm super motivated. Well, good for you. I got to put disciplines in place so I don't screw things up. Because by nature, I'm a disaster. I will not choose to do the right thing. And then I get up. I go through my prayer. Right, I pray out loud for 10 minutes, and then I meditate. I do my affirmations. Right, so I kind of have these who goals, like who do I need to be this year to achieve what I want to do. I got who and do goals. So the who is like, man, I got to be a disciplined leader that loves and serves people. And so I got these different who, and that's what I affirm. That's what I speak out loud, man. I'm a disciplined person. That's my word for the year is discipline. I felt like last year I wasn't as disciplined as I needed to be. So my declaration is I'm a disciplined, I'm self-disciplined, I'm a disciplined person. Christ in me is greater than the wrong desires in me. I say it every day, and I got a bunch of different affirmations to go with it. And then I visualize. I visualize the day I want to have. So I see the big things that are already in my schedule because, again, I've been a good employer. I've outlined them. I got to see those things and me behaving in a way, not necessarily the result, but behaving in a way that's at the highest level. Because if I can mentally rehearse that, that will build me up faith, right? So what I don't see, because it's not actually happened yet, I've got assurance and confidence that I will see it. So now when I go do the activity, it's more likely to come to pass. So I visualize it, I see it, I rehearse it. And then I go into and I read whatever book I'm reading that day. Usually it's always the Bible in the morning. I do this read the Bible in a year. I'll find a scripture that stands out to me, and I'll write that down. I'll put the observation, the application, like how I'm going to apply it, observation, what I see in the scripture, application, how I'm going to apply it in my life, and I put a prayer. So it's like a soap. It's scripture, observation, application, prayer. So I do that, right? And then I go and I work out. So that's my morning routine. So it's pavers: prayer, affirmation, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing, which scribing is just journaling. Made my acronym work, you know what I'm saying? All right, so pavers, that's what I do early in the morning, and it makes a big difference. So this is a stuff that will help with your schedule, right? And how you keep your schedule sustainable is having a very clear why of why you're doing this. Because it's going to suck. But the reality is this: you only know what you're passionate about based off of the sacrifice that's tied to it. So if I can build my passion through a list of the reasons I've got, I'm more likely to sacrifice what I feel like doing that day and stay more on point, on focus, because I'm thinking about the reasons why I'm doing this. The reasons why you do it bring you passion, right? If you think about, man, I want to take care of my kids. I want to get my kids to college. You think about, man, I want to be able to, whatever those things are, I want to donate to this church. I want to be able to help my mom out. I want to be able to live here, get my kids to go to this private school. I want to be able to be financially free and have the time to create memories. These are the memories I want to create. This is why I want to create them. If you can think of that, that builds passion, man. It gets you excited. And now you're more willing to sacrifice your flesh desires with the temptations, the things that pull you away from the things that matter most, because you've got your reasons right in front of you, right? Realize this, man, there's a tipping point that'll happen. It ain't gonna happen right away. Just like boiling water. It's all, I can't remember the degrees and all that kind of stuff, but it's all the same until it hits that one degree. You guys know what it is?
100. 212.
It's definitely not 100. But you said that confident, man. I was like, 100 Celsius. 112?
212.
212 Fahrenheit, 100 Celsius is easier to remember. So once it hits that, boom, it starts boiling. But up until then, right, it ain't. And see, that's what happens in this business. I'm telling you, man, whether it's Trey or Great, I mean, you name them. It's like people are like, oh my God, look, it's boiling water. Like they're killing it. Look at the production. Look at the volume. And what they don't realize is like, dude, it finally just came to pass. All those late nights, all those early mornings, all those times where they said no to what they really kind of wanted to do, but they delayed it, the delayed gratification, all those hard times they didn't really want to invest in the resources, but they did anyways, all those long drives. It just finally came to pass. There's a tipping point, and you just got to realize that it's going to happen. It's typically, you're closer to that thing starting to boil for you when you think you're the farthest from it. Why? Because the amount of time is the longest. You've been at it the longest. So you think like, man, I'm the farthest. This ain't gonna pop. And then all of a sudden it does. You just got to be faithful. You just got to keep at it. Last thing I tell you is like, expect to fail. Just expect it. You're gonna have a schedule. and you're going to mess it up. Heck, I think I mess it up every day. I got my intentions, what I want to accomplish, and stuff happens. But I'm just trying to get a little better, 1% better, right? But just expect to fail, and don't beat yourself up when you do it. I love what Trey says. It's like, you know, you're in a car driving from here to here, where you're at to where you want to go. You know that your daily routine is going to dictate where you're going to get to. If you mess it up and you pop a tire, would you get out if you had a flat tire and be like, this stupid car, grab a machete and slash all 4 tires? And like, screw it and walk away? You wouldn't do that, right? You get back, you fix it, get back in and keep moving. Well, that's what you got to do every day. You got to do that every single day. And then reflect on, why did I get a pop tire? How can I take a different path? Maybe move around that sticker or the nail or whatever the next time and not hit it. But it's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen. And so what I would encourage you guys to do is realize that, man, this is a marathon, not a sprint. If you just try to sprint around, you're going to get exhausted. It ain't going to work out. It's a marathon. Build a schedule where you can work it day in and day out. I also suggest putting your schedule the times you're going to spend with your family. I have church in the schedule. I've got the times I'm reading with my kids at night. You know, when you can make every minute matter, man, it's just life just tastes better, right? Like when I'm home, I had this person who said, man, like I can't, like I got to be there for my kids. I don't want to sacrifice that. I said, dude, listen, you know, my dad worked as a plumber. He got home at 3, 4 o'clock, you know, most days. But he, you know, we didn't have a relationship. He would, go watch TV. He'd just go do whatever he was doing, right? There was not a quality of time. There was quantity, it wasn't intentional. I said, man, I could tell you my 20s, I barely remember because I sacrificed so much because I wanted to get to this place of freedom. And I can tell you this much, like as much as I was working 100 and some hours a week, getting home late, my relationship with my kids was great because I had quality of time. I knew, okay, I'm going to get home at 8 o'clock after my dial session from 8 to 8:30. I'm going to ask them how their day was, what did they love, what did they learn. I'm going to read with them. I'm going to pray with them. I'm going to do affirmations with them. The next night, I'm going to, you know, if I get, you know, on Saturday, before I take off, I'm going to go ahead and you know, go outside. But like it was just very intentional. And so you don't need to have a quantity. It's quality matters most. I mean, dude, if I spend 2 hours straight with one of my kids, it's going to be very destructive. What is that scripture that says like, don't like, you know, basically don't drive your kids nuts? It's like something right before like honor your parents. It's a first promise, you know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd provoke the heck out of them to anger, man. We start fighting and stuff. I just start messing with them because I get bored. And I'm like, what do we do now? It's been an hour. You're kind of irritating me and I'm irritating you. Like, and I start just messing with them. You know, like that's just what I would do because I'm just, you know. So I think that scripture's also saying don't spend way too much time with them because it's probably going to be unproductive, right? Like let's go out there and do something productive, all right? Sometimes what you think isn't, man. So, you know, this week, what I would suggest is this. Make this be the first day, today. Like who cares what happened last week? Who cares what happened the week before? In this business, every week's a reset, right? Last week doesn't matter. Get your self-esteem from your work habits. Get your self-esteem from your activity, right? Don't get it from the result. Go out there and become obsessed about your discipline in your schedule. And if you do it consistently, I promise you, 2023 is going to be a year that you look back and say, man, that was my tipping point year. That was my boiling type year. That was a year when everything just boom, it started to pop. And all I did was I consistently did what others only do occasionally. And I did it long enough with faith that it finally popped, and now I'm here. Because guys, I promise you that's the way it works. So guys, make sure to like, subscribe, comment below for the drawing that we've got going on right now. Make it a massive week. Be strong, stay steadfast. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
What's going on, guys? You know what time it is. We're giving away $250 worth of leads to 4 lucky people. If you commented on last week's video, which is playing right over here, you're automatically going to win $250 in free lead credits. So comment on this video right down below right now for your chance to win next week. Now, without further ado, let's see who won this time. Mauricio Ventura, so good. Need this on Mondays. Our second winner is Declan Uzman. Great podcast. Our third winner is Anastasia T. Great podcast. Thanks so much for the time and energy you pour into us. I appreciate it. Take a lot of value from these podcasts. And our fourth and final winner is Dorothy Tublu. Great information. Guys, it's that simple. Just leave a comment and you can win 250 bucks worth of free leads. That's free money in your pocket that can help expand your business dramatically. So, leave a comment every week and we'll see you next time. Take care.